the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Out of the casino, 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 out of the casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Child just got a bang downstairs. Seven times from the main frame of chair. Tall tales grow room downstairs. 7 times from the main room up there. Out of the casino, downstairs. Out of the casino, 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 out of the casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. How did you know me? 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 What's up, y'all? Evening, friends. Cool, so I just went to make sure that I got the Wi-Fi okay and everybody streamed in at once, so super cool to see y'all. Let me just jump into chat, say what's up. We got Plain Truth first, Astralis, what's happening, Kimmy, Genghis Khan, Arum Vorax, and Buddy showing up. Awesome to see you, Buddy, and everyone. Kimmy, rad. Let's see, what does Buddy say? Buddy says, yeah, I was just packing some freeze-dried ice cream and watching this past Sunday feature, Tony Hinchcliffe. Don't know that. It was good, but I need something different. Love this show. Thank you kindly. Someone was telling me the other day, this is Buddy, something was telling me the other day that this is a pentagon base on the moon, and that they saw it when they zoomed on someone's telescope. Do you know anything about this? Well, I mean, I've been pointing out the Sea of Serenity, like the one we see right in front of us, Serenity at the top, Tranquility. Serenity seems like a pentagon to me. But actually 2 nights ago I was doing this crater called Purbach, Purbach, and if you jump back to that stream, the last one, you'll see this very, very precise, like, it almost looks like a pyramid more than a pentagon, but like very specific type looking crater. I may sound a little tired. I am, tiny bit. It's one of those really lethargic days, if I'm being honest, but the skies were really perfect. And even though I have wind, I feel like we're getting a few crispy shots in here that I wanted to share with y'all. I even checked Saturn a bit, same sort of thing. So it's kind of going in and out of focus with the wind currents tonight. You'll tell it's one of those old types of effects, but still, when it's clear, it's super duper sharp. So I figured I'd get on here for a little bit. We'll do a quick check-in, chill midweek stream. Happy Tuesday. Hope y'all are doing great. Let's see what this moon is at. Let's see, 73%? Yeah, 73% conjunction with Saturn. Saturn's to the top left of it if you're looking at it IRL. There's also Jupiter coming up, but I think it's a bit too far still. But closing in on being able to see all three at once. Let's see what's going on. See Jersey Dolphins, get some coffee. Yeah, I'm going to actually do that. But I figured I'd just set up quickly and make sure that I got the stream going. Good vibes to you, Genghis. I'm also having a bit of buffering issues. Not sure what the deal is, but bear with me. We'll set it going. Well, great to see y'all. We'll talk a little bit. The title of the show tonight is You Make Your Bodhi, or You Make Your Body and Mind. And it's all about in reference to the fact that this really big self-realization is just looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself the question, who was I before I was born? Or who makes my body? Who put my body together? Is it the cells? Is it the atoms? Is it the self? And it's a really simple question, but I feel like many people don't really ask themselves that, nor do they go to the obvious conclusion, which is you're making your body right now. And that actually implies a lot of really grand ideas about consciousness, about life, about God, about power. So that's the question or the thought tonight. Yeah, Jersey says there's a CME that's hitting us. Yeah, it's very possible. It's been really interesting energy today. Not like bad, like I said, but everyone seems to be lethargic and kind of dragging. Oh well, let's do it. So lots of great features on the moon tonight. Terminator coming across Mare Imbrium. We got Copernicus showing up. We got Plato showing up. All of Mare Frigoris up at the top. Of course, Serenity, Tranquility, Crisium, Fecunditatis, and Nectaris in view. You can see the relationships of the pentagons against the hexagons, hex against hex, all over the place here. Bottom left corner, or left side, we got Tycho coming in, Clavius, Schiller, Schickard, and then Oceanus Procellarum. I like this phase, actually. It's going to give us some good views of Mare Imbrium. And you can see at the very top Sinus Iridum coming into view, right under the shadow. So Tunes Day, going from Flip It for the Edge, which I haven't played in a while. Let's do the Cadet over here. I'll go find some coffee.
What you feel, you got to know when to speak. Better believe me, this is what you seek. Love what you know, you got to learn how not to fall. Better believe it, want to tell you all. Think what you want, but I can't listen to the news. Better believe me, soon we cannot lose. Oh, bleed, how we bleed, you got to know just when to heal. Better believe me, this is why we're real. Know what you don't, and know just know when not to call. Better believe me, will it tell us all? Be what you want, and don't just listen to the news. Better believe, just still we cannot lose. It's out of the way, smooth and fools.
It's your birthday. That's pretty awesome, NGC. Happiest birthday to you. Let's all join in and, I don't want to say congratulate, but celebrate NGC's birthday. Maybe it's late, a little bit late, but that's okay. My sister-in-law's birthday is today as well. So good day. Good vibes today. I see, also want to say hi to Hank Derbs. What's going on? Hank or Howie? Awesome to see you. It's been a while. I happen to have like a huge cup of coffee in the fridge. Threw some ice in there, so I'm already feeling it. Hell yeah, let's celebrate with a killer shot of Plato here and Montes Tenerife, Mons Pico, all our little chicken foot and like micro mountain word ranges and Mare Imbrium. I know I'm seeing a little bit of buffering, sorry for that, but if you do experience it, just jump back a little and it'll carry on correctly. I see Tony in the chat. What's going on? Good morning to you. And I saw also Renegade. Great to see you, Ren. Let me know if I missed you in the chat. Good to see all the fam. All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at, like I said, Play-Doh. Play-Doh. I always feel like it's Play-Doh, but it's Plato. Very interesting, unique feature. Also surrounded by the Alpine mountain range, Montes Alpes. And you also see this really cool channel cut across, which is called Valles Alpes. So this is the really wide shot right here. But I like it because it gives us detail, but also gives us enough, a lot more to look at. To the left is Mare Imbrium, and you can see the little chicken foot, that's Montes Tenerife. Above that, Mons Pico. Or am I mistaking it? I feel like maybe the words are Tenerife and then the chicken foot is Pico. Either way, we got some really cool detail here. At the bottom, you got Cassini, Aristillus, Archimedes. And then to the right, you got Mare Frigoris. And let's see what I was telling you. It's like really sharp, and then it gets out of focus for a second. I feel it's like the Airstreams tonight. Plato Keikio. Let's do Light of the Moon. I see that request, and then we'll play Bring It Back. Bring Me Back. I was hoping to get all these new songs ready, but I'm still working on them. There are a whole bunch of new tracks coming soon. Pretty exciting. Alright, y'all. Let's take off here. popping in here to say what's up to, let's see, Charles Thomason, welcome, nice to have you. Mauricio Prieto, I'll get that. Easy E, what's going on? Let's see. Yeah, so looking here just quickly. I got my squeaky chair. I ordered a new one, but it's gonna be a bit before I get it. This one on the left, Copernicus crater. You can see some really nice detail on it when it settles. Like I said, there's like a cold air current moving through, so it kind of is that, and actually maybe even some clouds. But to the right, you got Eratosthenes, which kind of is the tip of the Apennine mountain range. It's really such an amazing feature, where it kind of tails off from right around Mare Imbrium, right into Eratosthenes, which has the kind of trifecta central peaks. I always thought that was like a spacecraft for a while. And then when you zoom in, you realize that it's just a trick of the eye. Charles from Hot Springs, Arkansas, hell yeah. Always nice to see the new people, and just a quick note, if you want like more details, you can check the description of the video, you can check out playlists, and please feel free to ask questions in the chat room. Everyone's very helpful. So like I was saying, I got some new tracks. Maybe we'll play one of them here in the private folder. Well, private folder here, let's see. So, I'm only going to play a little bit of one of them, but I feel like this one is coming along. This one's called Desert Fire, and yeah, it's still a work in progress, but I figure for NGC's birthday, let's play something new. I'm kind of excited. I've been listening to this track like 50 times. It's really tough to try not to overwork something, but to end up overworking it. Anyway, enough preamble. Let's do some Luna and Desert Fire here.
Some lacking out, what mystery or love? In between the record, I found light had turned to dust. Rockets on the beach, oh, when you just went to leave. I believe what's told, our story carries out. Oh, breath so inspiring. Oh, it's nothing like you thought it though. One day there's nothing left to do. All this love we find, falling into place with you. Long enough that I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh, bring us on evidence, come and throw this down. Like a desert fire, I say you, did you love me for this now? Come on, fire. Lights in the distance, I walk slowly up the stairs. See ahead a lion sit alone upon his bed. Oh, fractured beast, I know it's been so long. Time is it, time is it? I know maybe the side of it all. Go on, inform. Oh, sand is like the mind and scattered soul. I let it go. Sigh, like I'm on reaching out. Left my home for 7 nights, trailed along for 7 lives. Let the whole heart say, come and throw this down. Like my desert fire, say you've been traveling on so long.
All right, so really funny story. You actually literally heard me sneeze, and that was because when I was bouncing the track, I had the mic still on. It's like 3 in the morning, and I sneezed right at the end, and it actually captured that. So you heard a very, very special version of Desert Fire. So that's a new track. Still working out like a bit of the vocal parts. It's close, but I also have to master it and like pump up the volume. It's a bit low, I'm noticing. But yeah, thanks for all the kind comments. That's a fresh one. Y'all are the first to hear that. So maybe we do something pretty recent. I went back to the wide shot here for a second, really looking nice. I'm going to adjust the filters a bit so we can see some more sharpness around Chrysium and Mare Marginis at the bottom. Really great libration where the moon is turned towards us a little bit, wobbling towards us. It's super sharp. It's much sharper than I actually thought earlier because of the cool air tonight. So this one is also kind of new. This one's called Lock It Right In, but this needs a lot more work. But let's go. It's kind of groovy.
Memories of you. Always gonna run in like dawn, starlight kind, moonlight shrine, or right side, or light tone, privileged ships in night's crown, fire like trees, chill like smoke, sign a home inside shell. Where are you? I've been here so every life you come along, locking right in. Oh, every night it comes about, knocking right in. Oh, every life you come along, we'll fit right in. What you say to life completed, don't you sound conceited.
I'm digging that one. That one's like the last one. I feel like is a spiritual successor to "Dream Me." If you all know that track, maybe I'll just play it. And this I feel is also kind of a spiritual successor to "Willpowered," but just with its own vibe. You know, it's nothing. I don't feel like I tend to try not to repeat myself when I write, even though I write in the same style. That's not even true. I write in different styles too. But you know what I'm saying? Like I write in different styles, but I write a bunch of songs in that style. And so these feel like just evolutions in the storytelling. Anyway, that was Lock It Right In. That's like half a song, but it's come along. Let's go with new stuff continuing here. Y'all have heard this a couple of times. It's called Astute Rebellion. It's my little reggae number, the 2022 Reggae Jam. I want to also say what's up to Prestige DH. What's going on? Says, Prestige DH says, I used to mod for a guy that streamed his telescope way back, probably 15 years ago. Wasn't many live on here. Amazing to see 4K now. And I'm only 30. Many years of amazement left to come. Yeah, the first time I saw live stream of the moon was Bill Bryson, if y'all remember. I think back in like 2012 I saw it. I saw his stuff, and he had the webcam, and he had like this exact scope, actually, this Nexstar 8. And so it's like, live on the moon, Bill Bryson. And I was like, hell yeah, I love this. Got to do it. And of course, then, what do you play in the background? What do you talk about? At the time, like when I first started the show, there was a lot of like, fear in conspiracy land and YouTube. And it was really tough to navigate because really we were coming up on the third blood moon in 2015. If y'all remember, September 24th, 2015 was like, the supposed next end of the world after Y2K 2012. They were like, no, we missed. 2012, pretty sure wasn't it. It was actually September 24th, 2015, we're all going to die. So I got the scope and I started doing it then. And my whole motivation was to get like the best possible image of the moon, and also create like a good vibe, like a radio blasting from outer space from, if anyone grew up in the 80s, when you listened to radio stations and you just tuned in the dial and you're like, where the hell is this coming from? Like, or if you ever played Fallout and you had the radio on your little wrist thing and you're just listening to radio in the desert, like you had no idea where it's coming from. So that's kind of the conceit of the show. I feel like I've stayed true to it, but definitely brought in some of the science, or at least some of the critical thinking here. Want to shout out anyone else who's hanging out. If you're lurking, or if you're missing, or you're catching the show tomorrow, hope you're having a great day. 11:32 p.m. here with our beautiful moon. I think it's 73% illuminated, and I feel like it's even getting sharper than it was earlier, but definitely a few clouds. So let me play a song here. We're going to Astute Rebellion, and then I was thinking maybe we'll take a look at Saturn in a few minutes. All right.
Like I am wants to be read. Sharp like waterfall, so the words cut harder once. Side bombing, mom and dad. Those times ain't coming back. Hard to know just how to feel. And could they ever know peace? Maybe I'll just cut them slack. But they work so hard to relax. And when they get their bodies to the sea, I feel the end becomes me. We're the end, become the solution. Smiles, not confusion. My heart, I release you to the memory of this place. High, stellar far, so an analog. And I feel like
it's a little circuit breaker. All right, squeaky squeaks. Look at this shot of Clavius. It's looking amazing. And Tycho, of course, but Clavius even more so. Look at this kind of relief on it. It's just sharp shadows, looks like clay. Of course, you got that really amazing almost tail spiral, the end of, or the start of a spiral, or the end of a spiral. Well, the start of a spiral, actually, coming out of it. So let me zoom in one more layer here. We can look at it a bit better. Clavius is, yes, from, if you're thinking of 2001: A Space Odyssey, it's Clavius base. But just the fact that we can see this, and you can even see what I'm saying about the hexagons. This is certainly not spherical or circular. You got lots of angles on it. So I'm just trying to get this image right. Okay. Getting my paint program so we can doodle a little bit. So you see this? This is an amazing, amazing feature that people tend to not analyze or talk about very often. But I guess when you really think about it, not many people are actually, you know, researching the moon right now on Earth for some reason. It's like, no big deal, just we got a moon, and you only have a tiny, tiny fraction of people actually looking into things. So I feel like my whole kerfuffle about like nobody's doing it is even unwarranted at this point in human history. Maybe it's just that freaking new that we have the technology to look at something like Clavius crater in this kind of detail just at any point we want. So just a little bit of aberration, but when it's clear, it's awesome. You can see this kind of trail of craters here. So micro craterlets inside a larger crater. Let me center it a bit more, and I'll show you some of these angles. Les angles. Look at that. Like I said, so what's important about this versus circular craters? I want to articulate it in the most simple way possible. It's just that we see hexagons in nature, and there's just a mainstream misunderstanding about why that occurs, or at least just not a consensus as to why hexagons occur in nature. And it's because circles occur in nature, and circles expand like little suns. And when two circles get close, they create a boundary layer. So if you ever look at bubbles in a sink, or cellular mitosis, or if you look at the bridge of your eyes, or if you look at honeycomb, or any of these, hexagons are really important. They're not something to be dismissed. And so that's why I always point it out on the moon, because I grew up with this idea that the moon is very circular. There are circular craters, and everything's very circular. But when you look at it up close and you try and use some critical thinking, and you shake off the consensus brain fog, the settled science brain fog, you start to look at a lot of different things very differently. So even this first large kind of drop crater, micro crater, you can see it's latticed, right? This looks like geometry because the fundamental geometry of nature is this structure. And I think that in and of itself is important. So because I don't think you typically have, I don't think it's common knowledge to look at the human form and to relate it to sugar crystals, and to relate it to lunar geology, and to relate it to the greater whole of the universe. Typically, I feel like we live in a bit of an imaginary world, a metaphysical world, where people try to imagine the relationship between man and space, but or human in space, or animal in space, or dot in space and space. But really the relationship is this fundamental geometry, electricity, plasma, and the wires that pervade space. And if you take it even further, the unified consciousness, oscillation, harmonic frequencies, all of these, it's not a simple thing to understand, but it is a simple thing to ask the self, who made the self, who made your own body, or who made your body, and you realize that we make our own bodies. And so I think that's a really hugely valid thing to talk about. I feel like people who tell me I overthink it are misguided, because I think they're underthinking it. All right, so that's why I love hexagons on the moon. So it's recursively fractal. Hexagons permeate the universe, because essentially why this also happens, not only it does, so I didn't really explain it, right? I said two circles kind of merge and they create boundary layers. That's the description of what happens. What's actually happening is the universe expands like a star grows at first. It really, like when a bubble first expands and first instantiates, it creates like a huge expansion bubble. And if these bubbles merge or they hit a boundary layer, they create these strong corners. But there are other ways lattice structure can form, these 120-degree angles. When things cool down, when phase transition, you get geometry forming. Like if you look under an electron microscope, you'll see sugar crystals. You'll see the sun. If you look at the sun and you see the hexagonal latticing on the sun. So things, convection in nature almost outlines this grid. So it's this kind of noise diffusion grid, but it is actually structural and mathematical. So it kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's why I think about it a lot. I feel like it's a very fundamental part of thinking about the world and consciousness and tying in the metaphysical to the physical. Let's see. Tony says, feels like these shapes forming grids are to do with receiving and transmitting light we see. It's that, but it's also pretty much everything actually is these structures. In fact, like circles themselves are really just hexagons with a lot more points. So a circle is really about 32 to 64 points, creates a very smooth circle, and if you start removing points from it, or vertices, you actually end up with octagons, nonagons, septagons, hexagons, etc. And so these shapes, these primitive shapes in geology, are essentially nature trying to, or us, I don't think we're different than nature, but nature trying to form the strongest structure, the greatest equilibrium with the space around it, and therefore we end up with nested hexagons everywhere, pretty much everywhere. So our human form is nested hexagons, honeycomb, like bees in nature can just do it, basalt columning, sugar molecules, and lunar geology somehow. What's up, more Jello? Let's go Winone. NGC says, is light just sound? I think light is sound in the ether. That's sort of the idea. But maybe light is the primal intelligence, and then the two states of light are the dark light and the light. So this fundamentally, I think there is a certain level where you have to take quantum physicists at their word that at a certain point the particles essentially go in and out of existence, as they say, the superstring theory stuff. So this guy that I actually really dig his interpretation of, his name is John Hagelin. And let me just actually link that, because I think his video is quite good. I'm just sitting here kind of mesmerized by the moon as well. It's not just me just drifting off. Like I said, it's one of those hazy days. So what's this guy's name? John Hagelin. So he is one of these string theorists that I actually find really fascinating. And he's the one who talks about this idea of the fundamental field. And it kind of made me rethink quantum physics a little bit, because we're in an age of denouncing and canceling Einstein and quantum physics and string theory, but I think there's a little bit to learn from everything. I also hate using that term. Nobody's canceling anything, but I feel like people are questioning relativity and Einstein, people are questioning Hawking, people are questioning mainstream physics more and more so, and I feel like people tend to kind of say string theory is bunk, nothing to do here, but this guy John Hagelin, like a while ago, talked about the unified field, and I think he's really onto something with this, the fact that it's this boundless intelligence, the singularity intelligence, and then oscillation in this intelligence actually creates this self and other experience that we see as the pattern of consciousness, and it's fractal. The initial oscillation, we can get there and say, like, what's that? That's now the big question, is like, what was the initial oscillation in the field that created the first glimpse of consciousness as we know it? But that's where I'll take it into this idea that you made your own body and your own eyes, and you realize that we ourselves, each and every one of us, is an instantiation of the greater consciousness. Therefore, we know we did it. If there was something that created the first oscillation in the ether, that created the first life, we personally did it as a fractal aperture of the greater God, the greater singularity. Does that make sense? I found that's the way to really keep it in the physical, or at least the collective consensus reality that people experience. If you want to keep that, and if we really drill down to the basis of every electron, or the smallest possible quantum particle that makes up the body, you'll see that it really is flickering back and forth. All it really is, it's like a flicker. And so we're patterns, like highly complex patterns, experiencing ourselves at all these different modulations and frequencies. Let's see, I see Gnostic Chef. You literally came right in the middle of the came right in the middle of this perfect conversation that I feel like you would enjoy. Let's see. What moves the light? Light doesn't move, right? So if we take Ken Wheeler's stuff, actually, let me just zoom out here while I'm talking. I feel like Ken Wheeler, the Aurea Apophysis, talks about light not moving, basically just instantiations of light along, creates the perception of a wave. But in fact, light doesn't really move. It's a perturbation in the ether, so to speak. I think that's an interesting concept. I do like it a little bit more than photons and light having laws and limits, like imposing man's ruler on light, which we are literally inside light and made of light. So this idea that we somehow can tell light what the speed limit is, or impose rules upon something that we're literally made of, doesn't make any sense to me. It's like this weird, it's actually not weird. What it really is, it's just an antiquated form of wanting to have so much control, when in fact we already have the control. I think that's what the Zen teaching here is. The Zen, if Alan Watts were alive right now, and somebody asked him, like, what's the meaning of it all, he'd say, like, no, this has to happen. You have to. This is the equilibrium of life. Most things, most people, most animals won't think about the thing, and some people will think about the thing. And this relationship is pervasive through all reality, and that's the structure. That's why I refer to the apple, because you have the apple seed and the apple flesh, and we see a perfect version of this kind of equilibrium of self and other, or like seed and flesh. Renegade says, might be a group hallucination. I'm glad you said that, because there are a couple of things that you come across in circles on YouTube or phys.org, or when you look up stuff, you get these kind of headlines that imply that somehow what's going on, our collective reality experience, is somehow either fake, or it's somehow hallucinated, or it's imaginary. You hear these things like time doesn't exist, or this doesn't do that. These they're hyperbolic, kind of purple prosy, like seductive language. Is the way I've tried to articulate it, because it's stuff that would have thrown, like, the way I think about it is like 20 years ago, as you know, in my early 20s, I would have been like, oh man, this headline is just so amazing. I just want to regurgitate this to the people at the library or the people at the bar. I just tell them exactly word for word what Brian Greene said or what this guy said. And then you realize after a while, you're like, wait, I don't even understand what it is that I'm actually saying to people. Right? That's where the true journey of self-discovery comes in, where you're like, wait, I really want to know what I'm actually saying, or else I don't want to talk about it. And so when I got to a place where like you can really actually take a little piece of everything, but you have to want to do it. So if somebody looks at themselves in the mirror and says, well, this other anthropomorphized God or this spiritual God or this imaginary creature made me, that person, it's that person's choice to see that. And some people can just look in the mirror and say, oh, it's obvious that I'm actually growing my skin and growing my hair, and I made my own eyeballs and my own brain. And you have this self-realization that, oh, yeah, this is something that you're in total control of. And then people ask, how can you prove that? I can prove it by telling you to do the same thing. It's a circular loop. If you look at your own body, it's way more rational to understand that the self is actually making the self versus something else. Even though a lot of people think it's actually completely something else. Like, oh, humans were so dumb, we needed an alien race to come and seed us and feed us information. Or tribes are so dumb, how could they possibly have built pyramids, or so on and so forth. But you realize that's just language. That's just words to either dismiss or to obfuscate certain ideas or certain concepts. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing stuff. I'm sorry. Let me see. Bodhi moment. Renegade says, our understanding of the universe will only ever reflect the workings of the mind. See, maybe like, I'm not sure if you're just giving me lines like that, or it's a beautiful sentiment, but you know what I mean? I'm not sure like how that actually has a lot of detail in it. Sorry, I'm like trying to really grasp it here. Our understanding of the universe will only reflect the workings of the mind. Maybe that's just an example of what I was saying, this kind of purple prose of sorts. But I feel like when I started listening to Thunderbolts Project and they pointed that out, I thought, finally, somebody is really seeing how the linguistic manipulation happens, or the media hyperbole can actually shift consciousness over and feed people ideas that end up, germinating their own kind of well springs. Anyway, it's a beautiful sentiment, but I'm not sure it actually makes a lot of physical sense, because I think it's just the start of something. But if we really want to think about it, like what I'm talking about here, when you look at the actual body, you look at your own body, and we have this dissociation of mind. We have this mind that says, well, something else made my body, or my body is made of cells, and these cells do their own work. And we completely dissociate the self from this grand function of creating the human body, which is a massive, massive accomplishment. Every person, every baby, every tree, right? Every actual object makes itself, which in and of itself is a God-level task. So it's not a moral or ethical thing, right? And it's not this one over the other. Pretty much absolutely everything can make itself, and therefore everything is worth giving a fair shake, because everything is God level. Let's see. Hank Derb says, accepting the fact that we've been dumbed down and divided so hard has an effect on leaving one confused as well, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, even like you have all these different layers, right? There's pseudo-intellectualism, there's regurgitative intellectualism, there's dogmatists, there are propagandists, there are denouncers, there are debunkers, right? There are all these different layers of people trying to either salvage a tradition or break down a tradition. But when you're really truly trying to discover like what's the deal with how does your eye work, or like why are we here, or why does the moon look the way it does? There's almost no real consensus on these kind of much more practical questions as far as I'm concerned, right? There's far more stuff about ufology than why there are hexagons on just natural forming hexagons on the moon. right? Like way more about just like made up videos that are just fake UFO videos. And no one is really talking about like, why does Sea of Serenity border Sea of Tranquility and also look like a molecule and look like a butterfly and apple? Anyway, I'm going to take a little break on talking and play some tunes. Great to see the fam. Moon's looking good. Let's go to Saturn for a little bit, and we'll do another moon excursion. 2 minutes to midnight. I really miss doing covers on this show. One day maybe they'll allow a license of sorts, like an AI license that'll just make you pay Iron Maiden to say the title of their song. All right, it's called Operator.
beaten from the heart. I know, no lie. I've been thinking about you all night. Why? No why. I've been waiting for your white light, light. No why. I've been thinking that you should be mine. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. Oh, you. network. And you send me pictures from across the astral plane. And you send me cryptic kisses across the matching network. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 Je t'attends, mon amour, à cette duel, ainsi l'amour que la même semaine, achetant la éternelle, avec mon son oublié. Je suis la même, tout en avant, l'année chaque jour. Je t'attends, mon amour, avec les mecs sans agréver. Et c'est mon âme magnétique, c'est l'amour magnétique, c'est mon amour magnifique. Cool running, no wouldn't, you wouldn't, 'cause what is rooted, whatever it takes, please. I've been dreaming from the heart, no lie, been beaten from the heart eyes, no why, no why, no why. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down.
All right. That was a little will-powered. Took me a little bit to move that scope over, so it was very windy tonight, so I moved it up a couple of steps. I know everyone, not everyone, but Frederick was worried about it being on the steps. It made me start getting nervous again. I used to never think about it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just keep it one step higher tonight. Anyway, adjusting it. Saturn's looking really great in between the different, like I said, the air currents tonight are a bit cooler, and so we're getting some of those gusts moving through, but when it's clear, it is very sharp. Cheers, NGC. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope everybody's having a great time. So big deal, right? Saturn, huge deal. No cynicism, no sarcasm. I mean, I think we live in such an age of cynicism, and the people in here at least get a little bit of it. But I think like we get a moment, a respite to share so no cynicism space for a little bit. Sorry, that took a second to get out. I was like, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that like space gives you a moment to be in touch with things, right? There's no room for cynicism when we're looking at space, even though I was thinking I tend to talk about a lot of things that are sort of negative. So cynicism is rife. What can I say, if I'm being honest? Anyway, I feel eternally grateful to be able to see views like this and then share them. I've said that before, but I really mean it. So looking at Saturn here and thinking about it from this recent discovery that I found from Jeffrey Walensky, the stellar metamorphosis idea, my whole thinking on Saturn has completely shifted. Of course, years ago it used to be like, holy crap, Saturn. And then you see the NASA photos and you see the Cassini missions and you're like, holy crap, NASA, Saturn. Then you just start realizing you're like, wait, I don't have any conception of Saturn by myself, right? I'm relying on an agency or media outlet to tell me about the planets. So you get into a place, you're like, what is Saturn? And then you get a telescope and you look at Saturn for the first time. And then Electric Universe gave me a totally new perspective on how Saturn is connected via these giant electrical filaments going through the poles. And then you look at fundamental geometry and you start to realize, like, this is why Saturn looks the way it does, because it's along a Birkeland filament and it's actually organizing itself along the fundamental geometry of the universe. You also then you add panpsychism in, where Saturn is now conscious and fractally conscious. Then you add stellar metamorphosis and you get to a place where you're like, wait, is Saturn actually turning into a water world that might end up becoming an Earth? So is Saturn a star? And it's really amazing to completely just jump so much further than the conceived notions of mainstream Saturn. And not to mention all the ideas about Kronos. And, you know, there is this, of course, I'm not trying to, I never really talk about it, but there is a whole thing about how, like, potentially Mars and Earth was sheathed within the brown dwarf Saturn, and then we were expelled or recaptured by our sun. And it's very possible that that was the case, but I'm not exactly sure how to really... I actually just don't dig into that sort of stuff. I think a lot of people are into it, and I just want to recognize it. It's definitely possible. And the whole polar configuration thing as well. But now it's I think, not more interesting, but more kind of, in a way, I can derive more things from stellar metamorphosis than I can from the idea that Saturn was our parent star. But I don't know. I think it could go hand in hand as well. I just know that people talk about that a lot. Yeah, let's shout out Terrence McKenna and Rupert Sheldrake. I gotta say, Rupert, for me, more than Terrence. I used to think Terrence, but I definitely think Rupert now. Rupert, I think, has been it's Alan Watts and Rupert Sheldrake, pretty much, and you can understand the universe. You don't really need anyone else. Maybe Velikovsky and Halton Arp, but not even. You really don't. Alan Watts had most of it covered, and then Rupert Sheldrake had the contemporary, like, you know, did the experiments, looked at the biology. Right? What Alan Watts was basically like, you're God, you did all of this to have the experience, and don't bother questioning it because you did it anyway, so just have some fun. And Rupert Sheldrake did all the experiments that said, yeah, and this is how you do it with field. And even Alan Watts actually talked about field, but the counter space idea, Alan Watts pretty much, if you really understand what he's saying, then I think you can get the entire perspective on life, a life well lived and well served. But if you add Rupert Sheldrake into the mix, you get a little more detail. Awesome. Thanks, MGC. It's all Hermetic philosophy. I actually saw something quite good recently. What was it? I think it's called a Hermetic. This was actually pretty great. A Hermetic theory of everything. Yeah. All right. I think I may as well recommend it. I thought it was actually at least interesting, if not just along the same lines as the stuff I talk about, but really in a whole other realm of numerology and structures. It's actually quite fascinating, but I've only watched it once. Anyway, this channel, this is something new. And there is this other channel that I want to send out to this dyslexic artist theory. This really helped me visualize the self and the moment of now and this coupled dipole moment. So I'm just going to link dyslexic artist here. All right, so check that channel out. He, you know, it's just so undiscovered what these cats are talking about. All right, so Saturn's looking pretty good. Let's go with the vibes here. There's so much to talk about, but I also kind of feel like I want to play some tunes.
Out of the cold.
All right, so coming in here to chat with y'all for a sec. It's a little bring me back, and gosh, this is a nice shot of Mare Imbrium, if I may say. On the left, you got Copernicus, Eratosthenes, Archimedes, Aristillus, Autolycus, and Plato, which are all the from left to right if you follow the largest craters. Then you have the Apennine mountain range and the outlet at the bottom that crosses over to Sea of Serenity. And at the very top, Sinus Iridum is coming into view, so you see the little tip of the Bay of Rainbows. Lots of little striations, Lichtenberg patterns coming off of Copernicus. You also see Valles Alpus. Just an amazing set of features. And you can see, not only that, let me scribble here for a moment. You know how to do. Yeah, Renegade, take care. Cheers. Nice to see you as always. I hope I didn't, yeah, anyway, you're cool. Sometimes I take comments and I sound like I'm irritated with them, but I'm not. I'm just trying to decipher things in real time. Yeah, Horseshoe Mountain Range, right. So are you noticing the kind of the recursive nature of how it curls all the way around? Mons Pico, Mons Tenerife. What is it? It's Recti, right? Recti, Tenerife, and Pico. And then Mons Spitzberger is the one on its way to Archimedes. So let me scribs on this. So right, so Sinus Iridum right there, Bay of Rainbows coming in. And then that curls all the way around. You got Plato. Again, Plato crater being on the rim of Mare Imbrium, like we were talking about, large craters on the rims of Mare. And then Recti, Tenerife, Pico, what is it? Sorry. Recti, Tenerife, Pico, and Spitzberger. Archimedes, Aristillus, Autolycus, Eratosthenes, and Copernicus. Super fab. When it's sharp tonight, it's just amazing. And then right here you got the Alpine mountain range, Mare Frigoris, going down, and then you have the Apennine mountain range going all the way to Eratosthenes over here, and you kind of see the braiding and the coaxial Birkeland filament remnant. Here too, Archimedes is so fascinating because it's got this three-pronged tail coming out of it, almost looks like a comet. Fascinating variation between the features, right? Copernicus and Plato, right? Both, we call both of these craters, but they're completely different in their structure and where they are. Copernicus really has its own story to tell. It's really not on the rim. It looks actually like maybe it's somewhat like this, perhaps. So this is the hex in a way, right? A little bit. And then it's actually one of the Z-pinches. Something like that. Wait, did I miss Bo? No, I don't see Bo. Plato is Atlantis. Hey, Bo. Do I not see him? All right. So let's go here. What else did I want to show? Yeah, I was trying to show how the rim of the two mountains kind of curled inwards. And what I was trying to really think about here is this kind of a sign of counter-rotation, or kind of nested hexagons. So you have kind of this area going in that way, and these mountain ranges kind of follow that way, right, into these two dots. Not dots. Aristillus, Autolycus. Sorry, I'm just in my own train of thought here. And then you see how this is kind of layering. It's almost like if Andrew Hall looked at this, I know he would talk about these updrafts and electric weather. right? Something like that, like kind of pushing all this outwards. Anyway, just doing some live thinking here with y'all. NGC, let me know what you mean. Did you see Bo somewhere and I missed him? Okay, track coming through. What should I play next? Something like different. I've turned into a teenager again. Something like, maybe something like different. Alright, Midnight Moon. hop in here for a second, just talk about Copernicus. So getting asked, like, how high are the walls? So this is about, I want to say it's about 60 miles across, so about 100 kilometers across, and it's about 11,000 feet on the sides. And it's such a unbelievable particular moment to capture Copernicus, because typically you don't get this kind of detail or this angle of relief with this clear of a sky. So very special moment always, even with the air current messing it up a tiny bit. Important to note here is that, you know, like, it's not lost on me as to how much this looks like an impact, right? It does look like an impact, but then you have the very specific geometry, right? You still have these very strong corners, which I'm just going to doodle for a moment. It's a, you know, I'm open to this idea that there's impact craters. It's just that it doesn't seem like all the features on the moon are impact craters, because you get this sort of stuff going on. So, you know, and then you also have nested hexagons too, or nested geometry, which is a telltale sign of Birkeland currents. This type of stuff. Then you have the central peak. So if you had a Birkeland current connecting to source, and when I talk about a Birkeland current, if you just imagine that it's a lightning bolt, but a giant one, at the very tail end of a lightning bolt, when it hits an object, you end up getting concentric circles, or concentric hexagons, really, because the form is trying to conform to the strongest shape possible. Then you have energy lines that outline this, and therefore if you had like an electric arc on the surface for a moment, it would end up kind of creating this shape. And also when the electric arc extinguished or disconnected, you get the central peak. Now, from the side view, these central peaks are like that, and so the idea is that there was an impact and it shot up some matter, and then you kind of have, that's not exactly correct, but that you have this kind of peak, and then the debris kind of filled up the sides of it. But with electric arcing, this flat floor is this flat floor, really. There is some matter, but pretty much these peaks are created by electrical arcing pulling up matter from the center, or leaving residual matter in the center. There are definite differences between them. I think Gareth Samuel did a really good one, See the Pattern, on electric versus impact. A lot more detailed than I could really do in terms of the scientific description of it. But for me, it's very important just to notice the shapes and the geometry of it, and also just to look at it and really appreciate how incredible it truly is. So there are several layers to why I find all these different features interesting. Squeaky chair, it's almost like a sketch at this point. I hope it's not coming through too loud. But yeah, really phenomenal. All right, let's get some tunes going here. Oh yeah, we'll go check out some other features, maybe Clavius with this magnification. All right, just hopping in here to say what's up to Ellie Wynn. Great to see you. And I also see Yo Q in the chat. What's happening? Where's Wolfman Jack, right? Been a long time. We're listing off people who we missed. There were so many others. You know who I actually saw who we haven't seen in a while? Duplicat. I wonder if Duplicat's still around. I actually saw Duplicat comment on Jeffrey Walensky's video 2 years ago. So good on Duplicat for finding Jeff Walensky a while ago. If you haven't checked it out, actually let me take the opportunity to link one of my playlists, which I've been working on. I haven't been working on it that hard, but I will be working on it a bit more. But this master references list is pretty good, and it affords me the opportunity to, where is it? Here we go. So this playlist, gives me the opportunity to list off all the people and shout them out. So let's take that opportunity right now. Jeffrey Walensky, Eileen McCusick, Sky Scholar, Alexander Unziker's Real Physics, Dyslexic Artist Theory on the Physics of Time, then the Halton Art video on Redshift, then Ken Wheeler, Theory Apophysis, Eric Lerner, Dan Winter, Thunderbolts Project, Electric Universe Eyes, The Electric View, Geometric View, See the Pattern, and I'm going to add a whole bunch of others like Tess's channel, Kronos, a bunch more. Greg J, See the Pattern. I think I put See the Pattern here, right? Somewhere. Yeah, at the very end. Anyway, check that out. Share it, please. And, of course, Rupert Sheldrake, Eileen McCusick. Rolling up on 1 a.m. here. And the moon's sort of setting. I feel like maybe I'll get another shot of Saturn in here, and we'll start wrapping it up. I feel like I thought I was going to do like an hour. Now we're running up on 2. But it's been awesome and great to celebrate NGC's birthday. Great to see everybody like Hank and Yo Q and Kimmy and all the friends and Tony and who was here earlier? Our new friends Mauricio and Charles and others who have been showing up. In Michigan too, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Oh, Ellie, you got the flu or COVID? That sucks. That really, really sucks. The weather shifted completely, like energetically after the hurricane, so I hope you can rest and just sleep in tons of water. Sleep in tons of water and good vibes. And tuning forks, if you have tuning forks. You gotta check out Eileen's videos and just listen to Eileen McCusick's tuning forks. You don't even need to get your own, just go listen to her stuff. So, Ellie Wynn, you pick the song. I'll do our regular number here, but if you have a request, I'm happy to play it. You can hear it in my voice. I'm getting a little sleepy myself, but we're going to go a little bit longer here. Let's get one more shot of Saturn. If you missed it, some really incredible detail tonight on Mare Imbrium on the different regions, up near Plato and Sinus Iridum. Let's rock and roll. Just a bit longer.
So glad I found your tree. Drift like wood on the beach. We suffered longingly. Your world is coming apart at the seams. Then I found that policy that cut a real deal between you and me. Then you walk up slowly to me, come up from the sand, and you're carving the leaves to play tricks with my head. I got to set the needed apart of you. All my life and my heart is still aching. Set I needed a part of you. Maybe we'll lose our lives someday, but I got the stars in my heart. No one can take that away. I got the stars in my heart. Set the feeling is so far, so fire. 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 Set the feeling is so far.
All right, y'all. I'm getting a bit sleepy here, so I'm going to wrap it up on this beautiful shot of Saturn, gracing us with some amazing detail. Ellie, I'm so sorry you're sick. That really freaking sucks. I could just recommend a bunch of stuff, but really it's a lot of power of positive thinking and water, maybe structured water, water in the sunlight, turmeric, sleep, and good music, good vibes. But yeah, it's not something simple either. Just suffer, and we're here for you, or at least I'm here for you. So let's get one more song here, something old to take us down, return us to the earthly surface. NGC, also happy birthday. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And all awesome to see some of my OGs in the chat. Howie, Michigan, Kimmy, always. Jello, good night. Yo Q, Tony, Charles, Genghis. Throw me a comment at the bottom, I'll shout you out. I'll catch y'all maybe tomorrow or the day after, and definitely for the full moon. We're going to do the full moon this month, and then I realized there's actually like a lunar eclipse next full moon next month, so hopefully we'll get these kind of clear skies and get another lunar eclipse under the belt. It's going to be an interesting one for sure the rest of this year. But I have a lot of faith in the energy. I don't know. Especially after this past storm. It's crazy what happened. So also sending good vibes down south to the Fort Myers friends, Sanibel, and regions around there, Naples and such, where really Ian did some pretty devastating stuff. Pretty horrible. Renegade, yes, and anybody else I missed, you know I appreciate you anyway. If you're catching this tomorrow, hope you're doing great, and I will see you soon. This one's an oldie. Alright, friends. It's your captain signing off on another super cool, crazy crispy, freaky Friday. I know it's not a Friday. Taco Tuesday. Electric Vibes channel. And thanks for listening to that new stuff. It's coming soon. Alright, enough rambling. Remember, you made your body and your eyes. Only you. Peace, y'all.
If that's the end of it. feel this